idea. This is what happens in dictatorships. He's acting like, you know, a third world dictator. It's incredible because dictators are very strong people, you know, and he's not at all. You know, he literally can't. Reform, as you said, are surging ahead. You know, Reform now has 100,000 members in this country. The Labour Party has 366,000, so that gives you an idea of how much the support is surging for him.
Keir Starmer's credibility has taken a significant hit. His Christmas speech, intended to inspire and unite, failed to resonate with the public. His approach to China has faced intense criticism for its inconsistency, and new controversies are on the horizon. What led to such a backlash over his recent actions? Let's delve into what went wrong for the leader of the Labour Party. You might assume that delivering a Christmas speech is an easy task, a chance to bring people together and lift their spirits during the festive season. However, for our Labour leader, it turned out to be quite the opposite. His speech, which was meant to be a vibrant and unifying message, ended up being flatter than a deflated Christmas pudding. How did this happen? Because he completely overlooked the pressing issues that affect people's everyday lives.
The Reverend Starmer has announced his reset, which must not be called that, but something else. For what is in a name, that which we call a reset, by any other name would smell as sweet. Well, it's been merely 5 months of his premiership, and it is already clear he has fated to be one of the worst leaders in modern British history. He has no ideas, no originality, and no inspiration. But at least he has his amazing charisma.
3, 2, 1. Yay! It worked! Nervous moment there.
Is there a more boring way of pronouncing the word three? Well, if there is, you must tell Sir Keir Starmer.
Now he's singing an entirely different tune, so far removed from his campaign rhetoric that it's nearly unrecognizable. The shift from confrontation to deal-making is striking and raises numerous questions. But here's the crux of the matter. While Starmer attempts to persuade us of his new approach, experts are raising alarms. Member of Parliament Tom Tugendhat couldn't hold back and labelled his actions as reckless and inconsistent. He expresses concern that the British government is prioritising economic interests over national security, and he's not alone in his worries. The plan to meet with Xi Jinping at the G20 summit is particularly troubling. Critics fear that Starmer might make economic concessions to enhance diplomatic relations. But at what cost will this come to human rights and security? Starmer's strategy regarding China increasingly resembles a dangerous gamble. Security experts, diplomats, and China specialists view it as alarmingly naive and irresponsible. And let's not overlook the broader context, the rising anxiety over Chinese influence in the UK, including espionage and political meddling.
And I think, you know, Harriet Harman at the weekend, I mean, that is pot calling the kettle black here. She said reform is a threat to democracy. What the Labour Party do now is a huge threat to democracy. And interesting, a couple of days before that, Harman had been on another show and she had praised reform and said they were surging ahead and were actually a danger to Labour. And that is absolutely true. And Labour have seen this. They know what's happening. You know, the Reform Party is what happens in a country where the ruling party is not listening to the needs and the wants of the electorate. And you pointed out the most unpopular Prime Minister in modern history.
That's the issue. While Starmer was preoccupied with discussing peace in the Middle East and expressing gratitude to workers, he unfortunately completely overlooked the real struggles that people are facing. The cost of living crisis has become a significant challenge for many families, making it hard for them to put food on the table, let alone buy Christmas gifts. Although Starmer is said to have a low voice, the public's reaction was harsh and unforgiving. People felt he was utterly disconnected from reality and questioned whether he even understood what was happening in the country. This sentiment was echoed not just by ordinary citizens. Diane Abbott, a member of his own party, didn't hold back and bluntly remarked that Starmer had no connection to the Labour Party or politics in general. Public opinion polls reveal a rather grim picture. An Ipsos poll indicated that 61% of Britons were dissatisfied with Starmer following his Christmas message. This marks his worst performance as Labour leader, and it's important to acknowledge that. In his speech, Starmer stated, "This Christmas, I will hope for peace, especially in the Middle East, where the Christmas story originated." While this is certainly a nice sentiment, he seemed to ignore the pressing concerns of British families who were anxiously worrying about how to heat their homes and feed their children. How can one be so out of touch during such a challenging time?
Well, they had many nicknames for our Prime Minister this year. Two-tier Keir, free gear Keir, never here Keir, of course, came in and did Jetset Stormer because the Prime Minister always seems to be out of the country. And guess what? It's just been announced this afternoon. He's taking a break in the new year. Never here Keir, won't be here in the new year. Here's a little tribute we put together here at... That's it, love that. All it's missing is the panpipes, beautiful work. We're having a bit of a joke, but of course the Prime Minister does seem to have more air miles than Richard Branson.
While the UK government's inaction regarding China's intervention is already drawing attention, Starmer's new approach appears to be creating even more issues and raising genuine concerns. People are calling for stronger measures to safeguard the country's sovereignty and security, yet Starmer seems to be heading in the exact opposite direction, disregarding the public's voice. And if you think China's political turmoil is shocking, just wait until you hear about his secret deal involving the Chagos Islands. This is an entirely different matter that could lead to significant unrest and dissatisfaction. Starmer's blunder regarding the Chagos Islands is a clear illustration of his complete ineptitude in foreign policy. He proposed transferring sovereignty over these strategically vital islands to Mauritius, all the while mistakenly believing he could retain control over the Diego Garcia military base. This is utterly ridiculous. It appears he doesn't grasp the concept of sovereignty or the potential ramifications of such decisions. The real issue is that the Prime Minister of Mauritius has outright rejected the deal, voicing his discontent with the financial compensation and benefits offered to his country. As a result, Starmer has managed to alienate everyone without even finalizing a deal.
I think, when you have a government, this is a dangerous government, and when you have a government that actually can't rule the country, but is going to stop the people who can, we shouldn't be having it.
Benjamin, Keir Starmer's getting the kind of spanking you normally have to pay for in Soho, and he doesn't like it. That's why he's trying to avoid an election.
Yeah, I think people that have come to these conclusions have been on the Christmas sherry early. The idea that it's like a dictator. I don't remember Putin cancelling a few district council elections.
He also expressed his appreciation for the workers, stating, "I would especially like to thank those who will spend Christmas serving others this year." While these are certainly kind words, they come across as a rehearsed part of a Christmas speech, completely overlooking the urgent issues that people are facing. But here's the crux of the matter. This misstep with the Christmas message was just the beginning of serious troubles for Starmer. His policy towards China is on the verge of becoming a full-blown disaster, and in comparison, his Christmas speech will seem like a mere blunder. He has transformed from an uncompromising hero into a dangerously naive Keir Starmer, and that is concerning. China's stance has shifted dramatically, with its previous tough rhetoric giving way to a pragmatic trade strategy that has taken the entire political landscape by surprise. The days when Starmer vowed to be a champion of British interests against Chinese aggression appear to be long gone. How could he become so disconnected from reality so quickly?
Our Prime Minister is reportedly worth close to £8 million. He also has a joint household income with his wife of close to £200,000 a year. And at the same time that he's claiming £107,000 in freebies, he is stealing, robbing our most vulnerable pensioners of £300 a year in winter fuel payments, as well as telling all of us in that gloom and doom speech in the Rose Garden that we are going to face, and I quote, a painful budget, as in Rachel Thieves' Halloween punishment budget that's coming up. Nick, it is disgusting.
Is there any way he can lance the boil, take the toxicity out of this, Daniel?
For me, absolutely not. It is unjustifiable. The hypocrisy, Nick, reminds me of George Orwell's Animal Farm, the socialist pigs that appear in George Orwell's Animal Farm. It really is. It's one rule for them, one rule for us, and it has to stop now.
US. Officials are outraged, labeling Starmer's plan as a significant threat to their national security. They are alarmed by the prospect of transferring control of these crucial islands to a country that may maintain favorable relations with China. Military experts caution that any instability surrounding the Chagos Islands could endanger the long-term security of the Diego Garcia base. The fallout from this failed deal is already creating serious tensions between the UK and the US. American lawmakers are questioning whether Starmer truly grasps the strategic significance of these islands. Critics describe his approach as politically naive, and that's putting it mildly. What's most troubling about this situation isn't just the remote islands themselves. Starmer's willingness to even entertain the idea of relinquishing this strategically vital territory indicates he is prepared to jeopardize Britain's military advantage in the Indian Ocean. With China actively expanding its influence globally, this is the last thing we need. Starmer's blunders regarding the Chagos Islands are a clear indication of his broader misjudgments in foreign policy. He has shown a complete inability to navigate the complexities of international relations and safeguard British interests abroad. This raises serious concerns about his capacity to manage other critical foreign policy decisions if he ever ascends to the role of Prime Minister. However, Starmer's missteps extend beyond foreign policy. The chaos he is creating domestically, particularly within the UK economy, is causing just as much concern and dissatisfaction among citizens. What are your thoughts on this video? Share your opinions in the comments and see you next time.